Yeah, I think yeah, it's recording. So I've been wanting to I've been I wanted to do this for a long time. So I'm gonna talk about books, share my opinion with the world, if anybody sees it actually. Now the first book I want to talk to world about is this book called I don't know if you can say this. It's the Rules of Civility by Amor Tolls. So this is a book about, or first let me talk about the writer Amor Tolls. And I first got to know the first book I read of him was A Gentleman in Moscow. It's one of the first paperbacks that I bought 4 years back, just before COVID hit, or while the COVID was going on, and I did not like it. I did not like. Let me correct that. I did not like the first 100 pages. I left it. Now generally, and I took it after a couple of months went by, and I picked it back up again, and I loved it. When I finished it, I fell in love with it so much. Now when the Lincoln Highway, the writer's latest book, the Lincoln Highway, released, I read it 2022. I read it in 2022 once. I read it again this year. I loved it so much. The prose is fantastic. The premise is outstanding. The characters are so precious. And when I was trying to find a good book, good mature book to read, I thought, why not go back to good old Immortals? Let's pick up his first book, The Rules of Civility. The prose is fantastic. The prose is just fantastic. Period. Coming to the story structure, uh, it's one of those books where it depends more on the characters. It depends more on the scenes that develop between two very complex characters. For example, the main protagonist in this book, um Kate. She's a Russian-born uh, woman in her mid 20s, living in New York, Brooklyn, working as a stenographer in a publishing firm. She jumps across from one firm to another, and it's the novel is basically how she views the people of New York and the city of New York itself. There are some sentences in this book that captures the life the New York has. I haven't been there personally, but I looking when I saw the New York of 1938 in through the eyes of the Kate, I was like, oh my god. Probably the people living in the book might not realize that they are inside uh, a uh, poetic poetic instance of a world. But as a reader, we see how lucky are these people to be living in these poetic circumstances, right? And water writer is immortals, and there are no cliffhangers. There is no breathtaking plot. There is nothing of that sort. It's more of a when you it's more of a how do we when you see into the wild, right? When you see into the wild, or when you see something like uh, Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the a rush of adrenaline that you feel, right? There is it's even this novel is still toned down version of still Secret Life of Walter Mitty. There's nothing common between them, but still you can find a mist of similarity between them, right? mm, yeah. And if you are one who expects some meat of a story, you'll obviously be disappointed. But if you are a prose lover, if you want to view a world through someone's eyes and experience the life they lived, and experience those 6 7 odd hours that you read the book, and you want to be genuinely just walk through the streets of New York and look around those skyscrapers, look around those people who are rushing past you, and who want and live in the shoes of this very mature young woman. And how did she navigate the 1 year, the major 1 year, 1938? How did she navigate that whole year? And what did she learn from the people around him? What wisdom did she impart on the people who touched her emotionally, physically, some people, right? And yeah, and what I felt is there is a touch of Dostoevsky in it. There's a touch of loneliness in her, which when you realize, when you now that I realize, the author did not never mention, never talked about the loneliness of Kate. But still, now that I think back, she was lonely. She had no grand ambitions. She was just a girl who was working, who was doing her job, who didn't have big dreams, who stumbled from one rock onto other, one life instance onto other, right? Yeah, I think the power of the book lies in being honest, and being true to the character. There is no one single. So when I was reading the book, I felt so jealous. So how can he write such a pretty, such a well constructed sentences, right? So that's a craft. That's when I realized, okay, this guy. I mean, I tried my hands on writing it, obviously, right? So when I was reading the book, I was like, God damn it! I'm like miles deep underground. What this guy is capable of? Yeah, he's just he's another level writer, right? And I talked about prose. I talked about story, characters. There are hardly 10 or 5 to 10 characters, with three major characters being 3 to 4. Major character Kate, and her friend Eve, who you will see in the majority of the first half, who I think who symbolizes the um there are these people, right, who doesn't have their foot at one place, who always want to move around through and slither through the world, experiencing all of its glitz and glory. Yes, she is that kind of girl, this Eve. And charming gentleman by their side named Tinker, right? How did their friendship play out? If you see, there are some scenes when you feel like you're watching a well choreographed ballet, or you're watching some fantastic orchestra, fantastic musical piece being played out. That's how precise, and that's how grand these scenes are. Grand in terms of uh, the dialogue, the character setting. Everything is so glamorous, so glitzy, so precise, to the point that, okay, you are like, okay, this is it, this is what. There is not one single needle being missed from this scene. This Here is a writer who sat in the room along with these main characters, who observed it with his own two eyes, and is documenting it as it happened. I think that's the level, a top, like, an efficient writer can be. I'll not edit this. I'll not edit this because I don't know how do I edit this. So I'll just post it out on YouTube, wherever. If you have come, I think I see it's almost 10 minutes. If you have come this far, expect some more videos probably. I'll just throw out this conversations around. Comment it if you want to listen more from me. I'm just I don't know. I'm trying to connect with the world, I guess. Cheers.